I saw Ferrari starring Adam Driver, directed by Michael Mann. Michael Mann has directed a lot of movies that I have heard a lot of acclaim for, but that I haven't seen. Like, I haven't seen Heat. I know, gasp. I feel like I need to. I haven't seen The Last of the Mohicans. I have seen Collateral. That was a Michael Mann movie, and that movie is amazing. It's not an action movie. Michael Mann does a lot of like action movies or movies that have like punctuated action scenes in them. And while there's no, fighting in this movie, it's a movie about race cars. It's about a guy who runs a car company. It feels like his approach to depicting racing has that kind of like grounded realism to it. Because a lot of Michael Mann's action scenes are praised for having like realistic gunplay in them and stuff. And in this movie, racing seems very smooth and very normal until something goes wrong. Like the dangers of car races are very punctuated, right? Like if something goes wrong, it goes wrong immediately and spectacularly and suddenly. There's the big race at the end where I don't remember what the name of the race is, but it's one where they're like driving all along the Italian countryside. I think it's like 1,000-kilometer race. And there's a couple people who like go over fences or something and just drive off into like the grass where it's like, okay, I'm out of the race, but like nobody was hurt. We just, fucked up the car, but we're okay. But there's like 2 scenes in this movie where there are pretty brutal accidents, and it's treated with all of the horror that you would expect from it, but it's not like they play up like, oh man, here's a slow-mo shot of the person falling out of the car or whatnot. It's just, you see it in the distance, but like a car goes spinning and you see the driver fall out of the car and spinning in the air from a distance. And there's one accident at the end of the film that had the entire audience gasping. Like, I think I literally just said, oh no, like out loud, like, oh no. So I appreciate that Michael Mann like went for that, trying to depict things realistically while still maintaining like some of the horrors of it, but also some of the mundanity of driving otherwise. Valhalla Video says that's why they now use 5-point safety harnesses in race cars. Well, I can tell you that the accident at the end, the 5-point safety harness probably wouldn't have saved the bystanders that got hit. But yes, the guy falling out when the car flips, that 5-point safety harness might have saved him there. Anyway, the film itself, though, like, it's not really as much about the race, because it's about Enzo Ferrari, who is dealing with his son has died like a year before, and it's caused a big strain on his marriage. But he also has a son from a mistress that happened like his son from his mistress is like 10 or 12 now. Like, it's been going on forever, and his wife doesn't know about it. And it's about the ways that, once she finds out and, dealing with the trauma of their son being dead, but here she sees he's got a son, and it almost feels very like Game of Thronesy, where she doesn't want the son to take the name Ferrari. Like, they're even talking about, he's supposed to be confirmed next week with his class, and he wants to know, is he going to keep the name Ferrari and all that stuff. So like I said, it feels very Game of Thronesy there, except instead of inheriting like the throne, it's inheriting the Ferrari empire. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at to take this kind of a film, where even though it's not in the realm of, feudal societies with, lords who have to, make sure that the land is inherited by their son and they do, like strategic marriages or anything like that, it's still kind of that vibe, just set in a more capitalistic setting instead of a feudalistic setting. But there's also a lot of the way that Ferrari deals with the press, where like his company is like in dire financial straits, and he's like feeding stories to the press that he's gonna be bought out by Ford so that he can get other interested parties to invest in him, because they don't want this, this Italian company to be bought out by an American company, and the ways that he's like concerned about like he hires a new racer who's dating a movie star. And when the movie star shows up at the races and stuff, he's concerned that all of the reporters are looking at her and not at the cars. There's even a moment where he is taking a photo in front of one of his cars with the racer and the racer's girlfriend, and Ferrari actually grabs his girlfriend and shoves her a little bit over because her butt was covering the Ferrari logo on the car. As far as like, I'm not like a huge car fan myself. I don't know all of the, the ins and outs of the history of race cars or anything like that. It's not so much about that. It's about all of the stuff around the races and the politics of handling the company's finances and dealing with a wife who owns half the shares in the company and is using that as leverage against him because he has a bastard child. A lot of just like kind of politicking in that way. I thought it was interesting, but I don't know that it was the best thing that I've seen this year. Leftist Al says wasting Adam Driver on a shitty biopic should be a war crime. I mean, he can play other people. I feel like Eddie Redmayne has played several people in biopics at this point, so I'm sure Adam Driver could play other people in other biopics. But yeah, it's not my favorite Michael Mann movie, but I haven't seen all of them. I had some interesting things to say. I did like a lot of the ways that the race scenes were filmed. Obviously, for some of it, there's like a big thing where movie studios will say, we didn't use any CGI in this thing. Like Top Gun Maverick, there was like a big thing where they're like, oh, all the plane scenes, they were for real. It's not CGI. When it totally was CGI. They were filming real planes, but then the real planes that they were filming weren't the fighter jets that they were flying, so that they had the visual reference and the actors in the cockpits, but then they would replace the airplane with the jet that it's supposed to represent. So I imagine the CGI that they would have used in this film is probably something similar to that, where they might replace a stunt driver's face with the actor's face. There's or because a lot of it there will be races filmed from a distance. There is also stuff where like you would have a car up close and you would have like the camera pulling up alongside it, and I'm not sure if that was filmed with two race cars on a track, or if they would have like the car itself on a soundstage and then they just add the background in post. It's kind of hard to say, but it is presented as though it was all filmed practically. And that's generally more of the vibe that Michael Mann's going for anyway. He wants, even if things are being augmented with CGI or are being constructed in CGI, it's still presented in a way where it feels real. I would say that the things that look the most CGI, though, were the car crashes, which I'm not going to complain about because I don't want them to do those car crashes for real, because a car careening into a crowd at 200 miles an hour is not something that you can safely film practically. Lefty Sal says we should just stop doing biopics. I would say that there's reasons to do biopics. There is an issue of like lionizing people who might turn out to just be bad people, or, giving people an inaccurate idea of who these people are. This film is not like, this does not treat Ferrari like he's a good guy. Like this, he's a very flawed person in this film all the way through. Yeah, some of them are super interesting. Like, I would say, like, Napoleon was a biopic that I don't know why that existed. If you've seen my review of that one, like, that one just felt like Ridley Scott was just making a movie to win awards. I think Michael Mann at least had an interest in the sport, and I think the way that the races are filmed is a way that I don't typically see races being filmed in movies these days. Like, for instance, if we're talking about a racing-themed biopic that came out this year, there was Gran Turismo that I saw, where a lot of those racing scenes were filmed as though you're watching somebody play the video game, which is very different than trying to film things looking naturally. Napoleon just looks ugly. I don't know why that movie existed. I think that's all my thoughts about Ferrari. It's probably gonna win some technical awards at the Oscars. I don't think it's gonna get Best Picture or anything like that, but it was all right. Hey, thanks for watching. Your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. I stream Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific and Sundays at 2 p.m., so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons, with a very special shout out to my Whale Shark tier patron Ryan D and my Anemone Friend tier patron Pistol Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.